Defend yourself against DDoS attacks by hiding your true IP address with ExpressVPN, and visit my custom link expressvpn.com/ghilliemaster in the description to find out how you can get an extra 3 months free. The tank vehicle archetype in gtaonline has been suffering for a long time now, really ever since the Rhino got its initial nerf way back in the day. If you guys have played the game back in like 2013, 2014, the Rhino used to run lobbies, and that wasn't all because the Rhino had actual good armor back then, but mostly because of the lack of counterplay or things you could do against tanks back then. Now if you get killed by a tank a few times, you could just go into passive mode, and now the tank won't be able to do anything to you, and you could just get away or grab a vehicle to fight back against the tank. Well, back then, if you went to passive mode, you didn't even become invisible at all, so while the tank couldn't shoot you with its cannon to kill you, they could still run you over to kill you, and if you got into a vehicle to escape, they could just shoot the vehicle and blow it up too, so there was no getting away from a tank back then. They were extremely oppressive. Not to mention, we didn't have personal aircraft, we couldn't buy the laser, we didn't have the Oppressor Mark II, not even the homing missile, and if you wanted the RPG, that was a level 100 unlock. And that was all with the tank also being stronger and having more armor and explosive resistance back then. Nowadays, there are 1,000,001 counters to tanks. It's easy to even just avoid a tank on the street when you see this minimap icon appear. Which also wasn't even a thing back then too, so they could just sneak up on you. They would be a normal dot on the map, but then just be in a fucking tank. And on top of that, tanks are weaker than ever in terms of their explosive resistance, to the point where regular vehicles with armor plating can take more of a beating than tanks can. They're just in a sad fucking state. It's so depressing, and it really makes it clear when you try to go after someone in God mode to run them over, because that's the only way you can deal with God mode players, is to crush them with a tank while starting a headhunter. You just park the tank on them and then they'll respawn after a few seconds, even if they're in God mode. And so they hit you with like 3 explosives and your tank is just already crippled and smoking. The most homing rockets a tank can survive is 7 before blowing up on the 8th. Someone please explain to me why the Night Shark is allowed to take 24 or something homing missiles, but an actual tank, a vehicle made to withstand firepower, can only take 7 before blowing up on the 8th. And in the case of the Rhino, it's just even more depressing. Much like Rhinos in real life, they're fucking near extinct at this point because they can only take 4 rockets. It's fucking sad. That's weaker than even the RC tank. Just embarrassing. So basically, anytime there's a Mark II in the sky, or just any vehicle that can spam homing missiles at you from the sky, which there are, I don't know, about 30 or so of those vehicles that exist now, you're just dead. You just have no chance of fighting back at all if you're in a tank. And then what's with the APC tank? They already neutered this vehicle by making it require 2 players to be used effectively, when in GTA 4 it was a solo vehicle. If you want to use this vehicle by yourself, you have to hold right D-pad to swap to the passenger seat, and then stand still while you can operate the turret. Why do they do that? I don't know. But that's not even the worst part about the APC, because why the fuck does this vehicle have windows that you can get shot out of? Look at this clip here. I was driving away from this God mode degenerate trash can here, and I get shot out of the side of the vehicle through the tiny ass windows. This is him. What? He wasn't even close. Why did they make the APC dog shit in this game? Why? Why did they make it able to be shot out of? Why the fuck does a tank have windows that you can get shot out of? Why does the Buffalo STX have bullet resistant windows, but my goddamn tank has shit windows that can't resist anything? I understand for aesthetic purposes it having windows, but you have the power to make the windows bullet resistant at least, or what it should really have are bulletproof windows, because it's a fucking tank, or excuse me, an armored personnel carrier. Yeah, you know, definitely really armored, where the driver can just get one shot by a stray bullet and just die while driving it. Bunch of horseshit, man. Complete horseshit. I understand tanks can't be too powerful because they would be annoying to go against when you're on foot. Getting spawn trapped by a tank is not fun. I know, I was around back in the day when tanks were actually strong. But at the same time, there are a million other vehicles that are also annoying as hell to get spawn trapped by these days. So would tanks really be that bad if they were made to be actual tanks? I mean, what is a tank's actual purpose? To take out infantry and other heavy armor? Well, they do excel at taking out heavily armored vehicles, I will give them that, that's the one use they have. They destroy those vehicles in a few shots. But they honestly get shit on by infantry because players can just hold 100 different types of rockets these days and just spam them at you. So here's how to make tanks balanced, and this may surprise you, but it's not hard. Number 1, you make them tank a shit ton more homing rockets than they do now, like Night Shark armor at least. Against RPGs they can be a bit weaker, but homing missiles that can be spammed by shitter vehicles like the Mark II Oppressor No, it should not be a walk in the park for those to take out a tank with minimal effort on their part. I'm sorry, that is just dumb. Horrible balancing. Second thing, you make aircraft bombs a proper anti-armor weapon. Bombs should do an insane amount of damage to vehicles to where a tank should die in like 4 or 5 bombs. If you manage to hit a full carpet bomb strafe on a tank and all the bombs make contact with it, that tank should be dead. Bombing is a skillful action in GTA Online, in a game where there's not many skillful actions left, I might add. Therefore, you should be rewarded for using it effectively, as opposed to just pressing your left bumper and spamming homing rockets like you do now to kill things. That would amplify the power of actual aircraft and force people to use planes and helicopters more than the shitter vehicles, thus improving the overall quality of the game further. The Titan 250D's 105mm cannon should also be buffed so it can 1 to 2 shot any armored vehicle in the game. In the game files, the Titan 250D's main cannon does the same damage as the orbital cannon, but in actuality, it takes like a dozen shots to kill an armored vehicle. Why is that? That thing should absolutely decimate armored vehicles or anything on the ground, honestly. That's its main purpose. I never see people even use the Titan 250D in free mode. I don't think I've ever been killed by people using it aside from my own viewers on live stream. You don't see it very often because it's just not that effective really. It's pretty niche. And then they went and nerfed the range of the other 2 cannons for some god knows why reason. This really is not rocket science to balance the vehicles properly in this game. Rather, the science of knowing that fucking tanks should be resistant to homing rocket damage and weak to bombs and the AC-130. Bombs are so underutilized in this game, it's crazy. They should have a bit more blast radius and just way more damage to fight against armored vehicles. And you know what else happens when you have actual strong tanks in this game? It makes the unpatched God mode glitches weaker because we can just bully the fuck out of them with the tanks then. Instead of them just having to rocket spam us with laser beam homing missiles and we are just out of the fight instantly in a matter of seconds when we get hit by 3 missiles. I really hope tanks are balanced way better in GTA 6. Maybe they just go the route of ammo count for the cannons of the tanks to where you have to go and restock it after a while for the trade-off of them being powerful. Or maybe they do weak points where they take more damage to the rear of the tank like they would in real life. Weak points on tanks are just not going to ever happen in 5's life cycle because they would have to go and redesign all the hitboxes and everything. And they're just not going to do that this late in the life cycle. That's just not going to happen. But I wish they were at least more tanky in this game because my goodness, they are terrible and they have been for years now with the homing rocket spam meta that's existed forever now. They've proven that they can go back and buff other vehicles and other vehicles' armor. They have done that with the Bombushka, and I know it would not be that difficult for them to do that. It's just changing values behind the scenes. Anyways, let me know your thoughts down in the comments on how the tanks are in this game. I'm sure many of you guys agree with me that tanks are just completely awful. And if you enjoyed the video or found it helpful, feel free to leave a like as well as subscribe to my channel for more GTA Online content. I also want to give a huge shout out to all my channel members for your support. If you'd like to become a member for some exclusive perks, you can either use the join button or the link that's down in the description. And as always, thanks for watching and have a great day.